Hello. Oops. Welcome. It's me, King Polly, and this is King Pollys World, live from a townhouse in Vegas. Las Vegas, that is. I'm joined today on this momentous episode 17, which 17 used to be my unlucky number, but it has since been alchemized and shows me the beauty in the obstacle. So this is a lucky number. I'm joined today by someone that wasn't planning on being here today because I had a cancellation. Go figure. But he's always waiting in the wings. My trusty husband. Always delivering a meaty conversation. King Pollys Husband. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. What came up for me was, is it correct to say your trusty steed?
Ooh, sure.
Is that like a male horse or something like that? Like a steed?
I think so.
I don't know, just like a saying that came up.
Yeah, my trusty steed.
I don't know what that is.
That's good, but then it makes me feel like maybe, I just ride you.
No, totally. I'm sure there could be all types of weird ways you could twist it, but it was just a saying that came up.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. I'm very grateful. I know I just recently had my 4-year anniversary podcast, but today on my Instagram it popped up that it was exactly 4 years ago today that I posted my first post on Instagram.
What was it?
It's me sitting on our bed, and you can just see our cool ass room in the background, right? Just like this kind of hippie-ish room. And I'm sitting there with your underwear on my head, giving a thumbs up. And I put the word virgin on the top of it because it was my first post.
It just came out the gates.
The Virgin King was born. Yeah. I wasn't expecting to have to explain the post. That's funny when I have to put it into words what it was.
It was funny. And thinking back to like we were kind of fresh in our relationship at somewhat, it was kind of first couple years, and that was like you were really just starting to show that side of yourself, like your crazy comedic wild side had yet to kind of come out. You were still the bird to me for the most part.
Well, and because I had kind of buried that, I'd buried it.
Yeah, I see that. Didn't know if there was ever going to be a place for it or an outlet. There's not too many places that people can act like Mrs. Doubtfire or Pee Wee Herman.
No, there aren't, so I had to create my own world. And you were either supportive enough, connected enough, or crazy enough to believe in me. Probably a mix of all those together. That on some level, you weren't just like, what? King Polly? What are you talking about? You want to make funny videos and what?
What just came up for me right now was just that element of like I kind of had that aspect of just openness, right? And that like that was just in my makeup, and just when you first walked into the house, the fact that I didn't have any living room furniture, and like that my living room was just cardboard boxes that was made into forts. Like our whole living room was just my living room at that time when you first came over was just a fortress of cardboard boxes that the kids had made from, because we had gotten new appliances in the kitchen like a couple months before, so it was just these amazing huge boxes. And after my previous relationship and roommate situation ended, I didn't have any living room furniture, and I just rolled with it. And I just kind of liked just having this space to play with the kids. And
well, also too, in each corner, each of the kids had a desk.
yes,
and it was their arts and crafts areas.
Well, it was more of like it was like our living room / like their area too, because they shared a bedroom, so it was their area to kind of have their own creative space. Yeah, so it was like the living room was like a almost like a classroom. Like it was like our playroom classroom was where they could sit and do homework. They each had their own desk.
I loved it. And
It was so
it
cute.
was so funny to what just popped in my head was that then when I did move my couch in, it was the same couch of your ex that it had moved out.
That was funny. That was hilarious. That was just so surreal
And
to
can
me.
I just say though that couch was like a Walker furniture special, you know, like that was a 500 out the door type of situation. It's the first couch I'd ever bought, and I had gone half with my ex, so I came in with a lot of baggage.
That was funny.
It was so funny. And that couch was so not comfortable. It was like one of those brown fake suede-ish, like, so it gets hot and sweaty under you, and the cushion always slips down, but I was grateful for it.
Mm-hmm.
And now our couch is so cool. I love it.
It's a $6.99 special.
Yeah, moving on up, and then plummeting back down. So today I'm wearing one of my King Pollys shirts. If you are watching on YouTube, you can see my teddy bears. Dream on, make believe, and listen to your fucking heart.
Mm-hmm.
They're available. And I'm wearing my grandma's pearls. I decided the other day before bed that I'm going to incorporate these pearls into more daily outfits.
I've enjoyed them.
Mm. Thank you.
It does give you a certain level of character. Like there is this element of, and I've seen it kind of come back. People wear pearls. I've seen it in boys and guys, which has been interesting.
That's cool. And we were talking before we started this about your hats. And I was like,
I thought you were going to wear that hat on the podcast for a minute. Yeah.
No. I just got a new hat I've been waiting for in the mail. It says protect your peace at all costs, right?
Something
by
like
any
that.
means? I don't know.
By all means.
By all means. Protect your peace by all means. And then we were talking about hats, and my husband does it where it's the flat billed hat, right? Where it's just like kind of squarish and big on your head, and then it tilts to one side. So it's not like a baseball cap where it's like, you know, curved and worn in and fits your head. And I'm someone that's always been that, like it's supposed to be curved and worn. And you're, of course, the opposite, because you're the opposite of me in so many ways. But that's one. So I would really like to get your guys' opinions.
You know, it's interesting. When I was a kid, I started out, I bent the hat a lot. Bent it so much that anytime I'd get a hat, I would take toilet paper rolls, and I would put the hat around the toilet paper roll and rubber band it and leave it there for like a week or two, and then before I would wear it. So I used to have hats with a big bend.
What changed? When did it change?
It just slowly through the years got less and less till it's like pretty much like I don't like it like flat, just a slight little bend.
And I'm trying to, right. And I have no right in trying to get you to wear it a different way. This is who you are. It's your style. But that is one of the things, your style has been one of the things that I've
made fun of.
Yeah, made fun of.
Which is funny. Like,
I know. Because what I wear is so laughable.
I think that's something that we share, because like I kind of love the stuff that you wear too, and that it's like it's so unattractive that it's attractive at some level. Or it's like you just don't care, and it's like that's what's attracting, and it's like fun, and like kind of what I was saying to you, it's like I don't know, I think sometimes, you know, if we were going to like a show or something, like I would want your advice on getting dressed, but sometimes I want my kids' advice, and my little boy's advice and my little inner child, and then, my teenager, and then a lot of times.
Like these inner parts of you.
And this is collectively like where I'm at. Like this is.
I think that's so cool and important is allowing that inner child to pick out your clothes and like F it. Like all peace, no F's. This is what I want to wear.
I remember like there's been a few times in my life where I had to like dress nice for my job like Monday through Friday, and it was like such a thing to like shoes nice, like we're talking like I get my shoe shined, like every other week or once a month whenever, but I would go get shoe shines and belts and watches and just making
Ties.
I wasn't too big on ties just because, in the desert it's always hard, and I couldn't really wear something around my neck that tight until recently. Like it was just too much. And I always did a lot of outside sales. I was always doing a lot of moving. So, yeah.
I had a job for about a year where I had to dress nice too, and it's when I worked at the fancy store in the forum shops. And then in Crystals here on the strip, like the luxury mall. And they gave me seasonal allowance of clothes, which was cool. And I remember like keeping all the tags and tallying it up, like how much money, because I had never had expensive clothes my whole life. Like my grandma took me to Macy's. That was expensive. I looked forward to that all the time when I was little, because I was like, Macy's, oh yeah. But for the most part, and now I just, I buy used clothes. But this element of I saw just how easy it is to kind of get sucked into that world. And to just feel like, yes, I'm wearing $500 shoes, and even though they hurt me so bad, like how on earth anybody wore them, I don't know. Right, but I'm the crazy one that's like, these like are impossible to wear. And they were just ballet flats, but they dug in your heels, like, ugh. So I was happy when I left there and went to a flower shop and I could wear anything I wanted, and it didn't matter because it was so much like pressure every day to look good.
It's been nice, like I loved when I transferred out of that to like I think serving at like Grape Street, and it was just a Grape Street T-shirt and blue jeans, and it was like, and then your apron, like it was like, oh, and then it was a little, like Cosmo. I had a uniform, but it was nice. Like they supplied it, they washed it, they cleaned it. Like that was really cool.
When I was a hostess at the Italian restaurant in the Texas station, shout out, they gave me a uniform. It was like a blazer. Wait. No, they didn't. I had to buy my own blazer and my own slacks. I did like wearing a blazer though, but I didn't like how constricting, and again, like I was always like sweaty and hot. I'm like, how is nobody else sweaty and hot?
Blazer is like a pullover coat, like a dress coat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember when I did outside sales, we've talked about this before, but like I would measure and count up like a total amount that I was wearing. Like, and I would start off like, if I wore my dad's gold necklace, like that automatically was like, all right, I'm starting off with like 3 G's, and then it was like the watch, and then the pants, and then the belt, and then the shirt, and the jacket.
Yeah, that was new to me. I never knew that people did that.
And then the shoes, and I remember you made me remember, like, I remember buying these Cole Haan shoes, and it was like right when Cole Haan did a partnership with Nike. And so it was their first like dress shoe that had Nike air pockets. And I remember like, and I found out about it, and I was like, oh, I got to get a pair. And I found out they were $380, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of money for a pair of shoes. It took me, I think I walked to the store and tried them on a couple times, but eventually, yeah, I did buy them.
And then did you wear them?
Yeah.
Into the ground?
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't even know what that thing is you said, Cole Haan.
Cole Haan?
I don't need to know, but I've never heard of it.
They have one at the outlet mall.
It's still a real thing?
Yeah, it's like a diesel, like a Guess.
Oh.
Colon.
Is,
Cole.
is Diesel still around?
Yeah, it's like a Dillard's brand, Macy's brand. Maybe more like on the men's side. I don't think they do. It's like a Perry Ellis. Yeah, but I remember like going to Dillard's and just like all that stuff, like the dress clothes, the slacks. Man, you just made me think Perry Ellis pants. I remember Perry Ellis.
My high school boyfriend worked at JCPenney and then Macy's. And just always, we'd be out of high school, right? Me and my best friend, her boyfriend, and him, and we'd all be in high school clothes. And then he'd be in like a full, like I'm a 30-year-old banker outfit whenever we did anything. Thinking about it now is kind of funny.
Yeah, and you know it's funny thinking about it now. Like all these brands, like you know Nike right now, and like Gucci and Louis Vuitton. Like it's always been this way. You know, it's just it always goes through cycles. And I've always been like I remember being a kid, and I've always was so fascinated, and was like my dream was to build a brand to where like I could be like Louis Vuitton, where I could take a $5 purse and I could sell it for $500. Like I was like, that's when you know you made it.
Right, but without
Right, to do it
paying
in a
people
transparent
below
process.
minimum wage.
That was before I knew all
Right.
the ideas. Like I don't know the elements of the realities of it all, but it was always just the idea that you would. And what I'm trying to say is that you would be able to upcharge people just because of the brand. Like that's what they're really paying. You know, this is not. This is clearly a $10 item. Anywhere else you go, but because your
Totally. And
name's
see,
on it.
I don't like that. To me, that's like insane to charge people so much just for the name.
No, I understand that. Like now, living on a mindful, heart-based,
Totally, but that's
conscious.
funny that originally you thought that way, right? Like, man, I can't wait to flip this for 300.
Yeah, I was in my.
You know, that's funny.
I was in my. I was in my mind. I was in my ego. I was living from
Yeah.
this space of image and manipulation and feeling like if I did that, then I tricked people. Like I conquered. Like it would be like wow. It'd be like the game of chess, and all of a sudden like I'm beating all these people in the game of chess.
Wow. I was really grateful to have that time on the inside, luxury sales. Because I did learn a lot, and in terms of just like high-end brands and things, and also just from the workers' culture of like, you know, the archetype of the people that worked at Gucci, the archetype of the people that worked at Louis Vuitton, the archetype of where I worked, Lanvin. Like it was all very interesting to see all these little cliques within this one, and the amount of judgment and like insane mind gamery and just ridiculous physicality and materialism. It was like, whoa. But it does kind of suck you in. Like, it had me kind of thinking, with my discount, I could get these pumps, which I was vegan at the time. And these shoes were made out of calf. And I was literally thinking about, they're normally $1,200. Jennifer Aniston wore them. Like literally, like for a second I was there and it was like, I gotta go.
What you're making me think of right now, and what's coming up for me is how we get sucked into these worlds, right? In the first world that I remember like being completely submerged in and then like just popped out of was high school. And then from there it was all of these work cultures and industries. You know, like I went into like the cell phone industry and then the car industry and then the nightclub industry, and you go into all these different industries, and you know the fashion industry, whatever. But there's like all of a sudden there's these people that are worshipped and idolized in every industry, and then there's an element of how we do things or how the best is doing things at the time, and then what was, you know, past, what's present, what's future. It's just interesting.
And how funny too, because like
The restaurant
who's
industry.
who's you know at the top of the hill in the car industry, and who's the top of the hill in the nightclub industry. This element of they don't even know the other one exists.
Mm-hmm.
right? Like in the macro scale of things, it's like, wow, this isn't even
Doesn't even
real.
matter. It's
But then you
meaningless.
do have certain people that transcend these little, bubbles. But again, that element of playing God and thinking you're better than or an expert, really.
And then the other element of how, like, all of the different little worlds, it all has its same, like, pattern of dysfunction and life. And what's coming up for me is, like, when us both being in the restaurants and then kind of coming from someone of, just this culture in America and just families of dysfunction, and just how, being in recovery and just seeing elements of the restaurant, I was like, wow, this is just a big dysfunctional family. Like, we are such a dysfunctional family. And one of the reasons why I feel like I have felt so uncomfortable and comfortable in those environments.
Totally. I used to say that towards the end of when I worked at downtown in the downtown diner. I used to tell new people, like, they'd be like, how have you stayed here so long? And I would say, because I'm from a dysfunctional family. Like, this feels natural to me. and and
To
really,
pretend, like, what is the dysfunction? It's like we're pretending,
ugh,
like everybody's kind of faking it.
it's just messy and weird and unspoken and gossip and narcissism and
Worshipping,
yes. And
controlling.
and then you pile on the customer service aspect of serving, and what you're really doing is serving. We've both been servers, food servers, waitresses, waiters. I've been a cocktail waitress, right? Like, and this element of, like, I didn't realize how much of it really is about being humble, because I always somewhat had a chip on my shoulder. And I didn't realize that really until I was with you. And your outlook on how you served and showed up was very different than mine, which was kind of soaked in entitlement of, I literally just brought you this ranch. You need to tip me at least. You know what I mean? Or how dare they not tip me? Or these people, how dare they be like this? Like, oh, you're making my shift hard. All these things, which I wouldn't really vocalize to the people and show them, but it was energetically there. And you can always feel what's energetically there. I didn't know that at the time. I thought I could hide it, which we all know. We've all had people wait on us where we know they hate us. Like, you feel it.
Mm.
And now I look at it as, wow, like, I really had no business even doing that if I wasn't willing to serve. But again, it's all give and take. Like, you're also working for minimum wage, and it's like the system itself is kind of set up to make everybody tight and not want to be there. So
You're taking me back to that time at being at Grape Street, where I went back to Grape Street after my dad's suicide. Prior to that, I was selling cars, and I couldn't handle it, and so I just needed to come back to something to where, again, now looking back in hindsight and retrospect, I just needed to be able to serve, and two, I needed to just be mentally busy. And Grape Street at the time was
the
really
restaurant, an Italian
popular,
restaurant.
an Italian restaurant, an Italian cafe restaurant, and we were super busy. It was a hot spot. Like, we would have sometimes an hour wait, and people would wait for it. And so it would be super busy. And so what would happen is, if I picked up a shift or if I worked a shift there would always be a 2 to 4 hour window where I had no space in my mind to think about anything other than my section and what needed to be refilled, what needed to be delivered, what needed to be ordered. Like, there was just no room in my mind to think about a death or to think about a financial fear. I had nothing to think about other than to serve. And the other element was, like, I was so, like, energetically raw and just very vulnerable and moving really slow. I really wasn't trying to run from anything at that point in my life. Like, I was really trying to face as much as I could, and so much had gotten just distraughted and displayed that there was just this element of, I was just so in tune to the energies, and just this element of like just watching, instead of looking at one incident or one table, I'd look at the whole evening, and if did I get caught into this one table, or when I let go of this one table was an ass and they didn't tip me, but I didn't buy into it, and the next table they got sat there, they literally were the easiest table in the world and they double tipped me. And so at the end of the night, like, I made out evenly. Like, I got paid. Like, I never lost. Like, when I looked at it as a whole, like, I always won.
And I did too. And at the end of every night, I would do that, looking through all my stuff and thinking and sitting in it, and then being mad at myself for getting worked up and feeling guilty for letting it trigger me and get to me and ruin part of my night. Then it was like, oh man, I still made $300, which was on a, Saturday night in Boca Park when I worked at Gordon Biersch. I worked there for like 3.5 years, and during the dark ages. And I closed Friday and Saturday night, which means I was the last server there, and I got all the tables, and I didn't like it. I couldn't stand closing. I didn't like it at all, but what else am I going to do? Okay. This is my job. I got nothing else going on. So on a good night, right, like to me, if I left with 250 to 350, I'm golden. But then a lot of times I would go out and just boom, $100.
Wow, you were making 100 more than me. Mine was 150 to 250 at Grape Street.
Wow. Yeah, man, happy hour.
Yeah, and you're a female.
Well, and 8 hours on a Saturday. And those were my high nights. The 8 hour.
It's interesting. I kind of just zoned out of just this aspect of how, like, for a male server, my observation is like if I'm waiting on like men versus women, like in how I get tipped and whatnot versus like a female, but then like it's double hard for a female server with a table of females. Like, ooh, that's just like this energy. It's just like, ugh.
It really depends.
It really does depend, but it can be just like, ugh.
Well, too, especially if there's some element of jealousy, more so for me when it's a man and a woman. And the woman, that was the most kind of like...
Ooh, then you're screwed. Then you can't win.
Right.
And you can't get tipped. Wow, I never even thought about that one.
But...
yeah, I think it's...
I also didn't pick up on quite as much back then because my brain was pretty much annihilated with alcohol. But if I were to do it now, it would be a completely different experience. I wouldn't, like, I say this all the time, but I wish so bad I could just go back in time for just 24-hour increments in my life.
And do things?
Yes, with the awareness I have now and the freedom and just knowing, hey, it works out. Like, you're okay, you're safe. You're make safe. It through this.
You're safe.
You're safe. And it's just like to get to that point now in the present where anything I come up against, I can be like,
I'm safe.
Don't forget, you're safe. Like, remember, like, you've been led through all these things. When are you going to finally trust? And it's really just like that's what we're waiting on. That's the clock. It's us, on some level. It feels like, but it doesn't make it less difficult. It gives us something to shoot for. Something to reach for. Reach for the stars, reach for the stars. Superstar. You picked some top fives. You want to do top fives? We were free flow. We thought it'd be fun to do a free flow episode. And so far, I'm having a great time.
Top 5 places you visited.
Ooh.
So the first one that came up for me was Sedona. Sedona is always a good time. We went there for our anniversary. That's a beautiful place. Just really cool space with nature.
We went there for our honeymoon.
Honeymoon. What did I say? We went there twice. Did we go there for an anniversary too?
Did we go there
The
twice?
last time we went?
We went there twice?
Yeah, the first time we went was for our honeymoon, and we stayed at the cabin.
The forest houses. Yeah.
And then the last time we went, it was just a summer vacation, I think. And we stayed at the place that had the tent and the horses.
That wasn't in Sedona.
Yes, it was.
It was? Wow. I thought it was in California. Or Utah. Oh. Okay.
Yeah, that was Sedona.
That was our last family trip. How funny that it was like our family honeymoon and then our the last trip we've been on all together.
Yeah.
Sedona has a way, and I say this because I've gone there other times and it's never ended well. Never. It has a way of literally like
rebuilding,
unpeeling and squeezing and
there's a vortex
and showing you like it's not all like do harm. You know, it's like
it's like a furnace. It
releases the demons.
Yeah, I don't know.
Purifies the beast, the monster within.
Yeah.
The dragon.
Yeah. I still remember I had 2 incredible experiences on the golf course there. Like just 2 incredible shots that I'll never forget.
How cool that now if we go somewhere like I'll want to golf with you.
Mm-hmm. Or at least come, yeah.
You guys, I've been golfing every Sunday at Love for Golf, my husband's golf club here in Vegas. And we went golfing the other day. We've been going like every week. It's so fun. Like I'm really enjoying it.
And I think the reason you're able to enjoy it is because I'm able to approach it with you, and we have some luxuries of having access to the golf course and going later in the evening, and we do play kind of like a best ball format, and we kind of go out when it's not busy or crowded, and we play like 3 to 7 holes. Like it's really low key, and you know this element that it's tough to get into golf.
I don't know how anybody, and I said this, plays 9 holes
18.
And old people. Like,
a lot.
Wow, good for you, man. I didn't realize how much it was. Like the spine, like my back started to be like, okay, you're done for the day. I was like, whoa, this is weird. And just being, again, like physically activated in a way that I have to stretch again. Like I have to. Just to keep from, I don't want injury.
And that's the thing with golf too, and like even the golf swing, like this element of like getting energy and getting like momentum and force without forcing it. Because like when I'm out there trying and forcing the swing, like it never is as quick or as clean or as pure, and it always is painful. And then there's times where it's like effortlessly. It's when I have confidence and I have trust. It's like this effortless swing that's got infinite power, and that's what makes golf so, I think, draws people in.
Maybe one day I'll get to that infinite swing, but right now I'm at a junior golf level. Even my clubs are junior clubs. Because I'm so small.
Yeah, they're light. Good for you.
What's another top place you visited?
Another one that comes up for me was Ventura. Our trip to Ventura was beautiful. The ocean, the coffee shops, the restaurants, the food.
Just the best.
There was like this really cool spot where we were able to like drive by ourselves, just me, you, the 2 kids, in like a little electric boat, and we like kind of toured the marina and like kind of went in through the back of like neighborhoods and houses, and then a few restaurants like right by the ocean. So that's
the first time Cabela tried some with shrimp.
Just shrimp, I think, in it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some seafood thing.
And then we went to that mission. There was that mission that we went to that was really cool, and the kids got to light candles in that church.
That was so beautiful.
That was. And then the bikes, they had the bikes that you could ride, and then they had like the bikes where we could either pick like individual ones, and they were like stand up, sit down, and then there was the one spot.
I don't remember any bikes.
Where we could pick a collective bike, like a 4-person one or a 2-person one.
Did we ride bikes, or are you just talking about bikes?
We did it.
We did? We
Mm-hmm.
rode bikes.
I think we did either a 4-person one or a 2-person one. I think it was 4-person. It was like a 4-person one, and we were all talking about how to like watch Abby to make sure that she's pedaling, not making us pedal for her.
I love just like who you guys think I am. The other night it was so funny. We bought a pie, a really gross pie, but that's another story. And I joked, Brayden, our son, said something about it. And I was like, we got it so that we can put it in your face. And he said, I know that's not true. There's no way that you would sacrifice a pie. And I thought, wow, he really knows me. He really knows me. And even on that gross pie, I still ate all the crust.
Yeah, the crust and the whipping cream was pretty good. The other place that comes up for me is Big Bear. We had a lot of good fun trips to Big Bear. That's not too far from Vegas, and I've never been there in the winter. It's kind of known for being kind of a ski spot, like a spring ski spot for California people and Nevada people. But I go there in the summer, and it's got the lake, and they got a whole bunch of cool little cabins. They even have like little mini cabins, a couple little mini cabin communities, and they've got great camping and hiking, and they've got restaurants, and they've got a little golf course and the lake. You can do some cliff jumping and swimming, fishing, and they got like arcades.
Did you like when we went to
Go-karts.
Chicago?
No. Really. I mean, I did, but I mean, I wouldn't do that as like a trip. That's not like a trip for me. It's like a place I would. It was beautiful. I had a great time when we went, and I feel like we experienced the best of it.
Yeah, we had a great time together.
And we had we did the boat tour guide, which was amazing.
It was an architect tour
boat
on
tour
a boat.
On a boat where you go through like the little river where they turn green, the one area where they turn green, right?
It's the Chicago River.
And then this guy gave us this like architectural tour, and he grew up there. And it was one of these moments in time where I told Abby, and Abby agreed, that King Pollys, that if Jesus were a boat tour guide, that's what Jesus would be like. And just this guy was just fully just giving it his whole heart, and it was just his passion.
Like when you encounter someone who is truly like one with their work, and their heart is
just fully in it.
Like it's
no holding
back.
They
found what they love, and they get to share it.
And they're just so happy to show up. Like they're just the people that show up early. Like they're just happy.
I kayaked down that river once with a Groupon, and it was a lot of fun. It was a good time. I was always trying to, on some level. I always thought I was stronger than I was. And I've always tried really hard to be really strong. Like I've always... And now I'm at the point where I just sort of accept my strength.
Isn't all that physical.
Right.
You have a lot more emotional and spiritual and mental strength.
Mm-hmm.
The other two spots that come up for me, just to close it out, would be Zion and Pine Valley, Utah. Two nice little spots in Utah. Zion's really cool for camping and hiking.
Zion's so beautiful.
And they got the shops.
I've only been there once.
It's kind of like Sedona. I feel like it's kind of like Sedona. It's like a mini Sedona.
Except it's, to me, much more foresty. Even though Sedona has that, but Sedona I think of a lot more like Red Rock. And Zion I think of, at least where I was in Zion, I was in forest.
Yeah, but I was actually very stunned at how much forest was
in Sedona.
in Arizona on the way there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool just how crazy you go from just one to the other. Even in Vegas, right? You go from Red Rock to Mount Charleston.
You know, until we went to Sedona, I had no idea Arizona had trees. I thought it was more of like a desert landscape. And then I found out that Arizona actually has more trees than any other state in the country.
Arizona?
That's what Ray said to me, my friend.
Wow. That's crazy.
Which I assumed was somewhat of a reliable source, but I don't know.
You guys
can Google
let us know.
Fact checked it.
Let us know. Well, I don't know about Google. You know how Google is.
Yeah.
All right, one more top 5. What else you got there, baby?
This other one, you're gonna have to help me with. This is a deeper one. Top 5 things you've had to unlearn. So I
I
think,
could write a book on this.
yeah. So the first thing that came up for me, top 5 things you've had to unlearn. The first one that came up is that there's no one answer.
There's no one answer.
There's no one answer. So that's the first one. And so that kind of means to me like this element of, like, I've kind of always been in fear of giving the wrong answer and being wrong. So kind of just unlearning that aspect of being wrong. Good or bad, right or wrong, right? I've had to unlearn that.
Duality.
Duality. Um, the value of forgiveness versus feeling like being right. And trying to prove, like, the energy and time that I've used trying to prove something versus just accepting what is. What do you have? Do you have one?
I thought you'd never ask. I've had to unlearn everything. Everything I learned. Early on in my diary, when I was like 8, I wrote, my mom said, don't get mad, get even. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I've had to unlearn that. And just the fact that that was the motherly advice I received is insane, and goes to show kind of just the level of what I've had to extract from my mind. I've also had to unlearn this idea that I know. I always thought I knew. Even now, sometimes, I'll think I know. And this level of I truly only know me. Like, that's the extent. Me thinking I know what's best for somebody else is actual insanity. It's not real. I would have to literally be that person to even have a right to an opinion. So that's something I always thought I knew what was best for other people. And I don't. I've also had to unlearn that my worth is dependent on my appearance, and that how I looked determined my worth. And that's been a big unraveling of just the patriarchal beauty standards that exist. And I remember growing up thinking, why does this guy not have to put on any makeup or do his hair or anything and he's ready for the day? Like, why do I have to do all this other stuff? It didn't make sense to me. And then eventually, right, I didn't feel beautiful unless I did all that stuff. And to finally be at a place where I feel more beautiful not doing all that stuff, it's pretty full circle. And I'm really grateful for it. And I think, too, one of the biggest things I've had to unlearn is that I am responsible for another person's feelings. Because I'm not. And for so long, I was, and I lived that way. And I expected others to take responsibility for my feelings, too. You made me mad, so you need to make this better. You made me sad. You did this. And it's like, all right, I got to come back to me. And how do I feel? Less on the other, more on my internal experience.
You just activated one, which would be unlearning, like, what strength is. Like what I thought strength was.
How it's portrayed in the culture. It's so funny. It's like...
It's just being this like physically demanding, manipulating energy
fast.
to being like this, like what strength is, like almost to just withstand and to like fast and just to not have to express or voice like that, and just to be
every thought and opinion,
to withstand,
and to not have to move on every impulse and react to every trigger.
Yeah.
And to cry fully when the tears come.
Christ consciousness.
Mm-hmm. It's called by many names, but it is the same one experience. Thanks, baby. I appreciate you so much for all the depth you bring to the couch, to my life, to our life.
Ooh, talking about unlearning what we thought relationships were, what marriage was.
Oh my gosh, Cheese Louise. Yes. Yes. It took 7 years.
And two, like that aspect of when you recognize, like, to know something or to think you know something, especially about someone else, like when you're giving your opinion about someone else's life, like that you're like literally only viewing like such a limited perspective. Like you have no idea what led up to that. You have no idea what's going to happen. Like, and to really know, you would actually also have to be able to look like 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years ahead to know how
the future,
to know how it affects, to then form a full opinion. So when you like look at that, you're like completely humbled and you go, oh crap, I don't know shit. And then it's like, wow, like you come back
it's freeing,
to
like, oh, I don't know shit. I don't have to.
It's impossible.
This wasn't set up for me to do that, yet the culture is telling me that that's what I have to do to find happiness, is figure this out. Yet internally, spirit is telling me I need to unfigure all of this out.
Just experience. It's not about figuring it out. It's about having an experience.
Beautiful, baby. Thank you. Wow, well, we made it through the top 5s. We made it through a really nice free-flowing 17, I must say. And I think it's time for our closing statements. Na 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 na. That's what I do now. I don't put any sound in.
I missed the sound. I liked it. When I watched it, it didn't do it for me. I would.
Too bad, so sad.
Alright, I'll grieve that one tonight.
If I ever have a producer that can put the sound in, it'll be there. But right now, it's just one too many things. It doesn't always fit in either. Oftentimes, the gap isn't wide enough.
What's your closing statement?
Let me get still for a moment. Let me take a nice deep breath in and out. My closing statement for this week is spring has sprung. And that means that the sun has returned, the warmth is here, and we can take all the lessons this winter has given us with us and alchemize them into a fuller experience. And I'm really grateful to be here, to continue on, even though I don't know why or how or what, and to continue to just be me and share, and hopefully give people an hour a week to just sort of connect. That's my closing statement.
I'm feeling inspired to just share, to sit quietly and love yourself. And if you have the opportunity to sit quietly on the floor in a safe space and just breathe deeply. And like, I remember I used to hear so often, like, what does that even mean? Like, breathe deeply. And for me, I've been really just experiencing like breathing deeply, and how I've been able to kind of like stretch my breath. Like I think how people stretch their body is by like laying on the floor, and I'll try to do it either anywhere between 3 to 10 times. Rarely will I ever make it to 10, but I just try to breathe in as much air as I can and pause it and hold it as long as I can, and exhale as much as I can and hold that as much as I can. And then I just try to do at least 3 rounds of that, and like just start to just slow down and just breathe deeply, and just kind of like try to slow down and pause. Like there's just something really healing that can happen, I think, if you allow it. But definitely do it in a safe spot, not while you're driving or in water.
Yeah, no deep breaths underwater, okay, guys? You heard it here first. I'd like to thank you all. No, babe, that was beautiful. I admire your dedication to breathing.
I don't even know if it's a dedication other than it's just a pure just experiment,
necessity,
and a need. And it's like just trying to find something that naturally helps and heals and relieves,
and see, I
other
think
than
we
needing
all
a substance.
internally are guided to certain things, and those things are for us. And you'll know if you're called to breathe, you'll breathe. You know, this element of, oh, I should be breathing more, or I should be, or I should be. I said to my friend the other day, I was like, I forgot. I don't want to should all over myself. That, you know, just like, no more shoulds. Just what are you called to? But it does seem like breath and becoming aware of breath is like a diving board.
And just even in just you saying that, like it's just how like incredibly important, like all of life literally springs from it. So to actually just, when you can recognize like how much of life force comes from breath and how powerful breath is, and like it really can affect, I think, and heal and transform a lot of our lives. And instead of I was saying it to someone the other day, and it's like just doing breath work, and working on your breath and just being mindful of it, it just helps you allow to where, instead of life controlling your breath and taking over your breath, it's now you get to kind of like, I don't know, you get to dance with it a little bit more and experience it a little bit more. And you can, if you stretch into it, like I feel like I'm releasing something and releasing things that if I don't do this or do this, that 10, 20, 30 years down the road, it becomes, this is how disease is formed in the body. It's because these things that I would hold on to instead of release. And, you know, I feel like breath is one way to release things.
100. And it's the cheapest.
And you always have it, and no one can take it away from you, no matter where you're at.
It's been instrumental in my healing and awakening to it, and even reading about it. There's books. Didn't you read The Science of Breath or something?
There's a book called Breath. I think it's just called Breath.
And then I read, I can't remember what it's called now, but I had to read it for my yoga teacher
It's really
training.
good.
And what?
That book is really good.
And and I didn't even know about our olfactory system, which is what, right, this whole breathing system is called. And I didn't really realize, like, oh, it's literally straight to your brain. Like the oxygen, the prana, the life force, spirit, it's literally moved right into your sort of mechanism for functioning. And it really made me aware of what I was inhaling.
You know the other thing that's coming up for me right now is breath is the only tool that you can acquire that if even someone imprisoned you into a dark room, they cannot take that away from you. And for some reason, like it just felt like just such a powerful tool to have, because I've been in spaces to where, like, ultimately that's where I feel like we all struggle. It's like we get overwhelmed with this tightness, this stress, this anxiety, these feelings, whatever it is, and we need some element of a release. Whether whether you're shooting heroin, you're eating a box of chocolates, you're watching ESPN for 2 hours, or you're smoking a joint, having a glass of wine, or you're breathing. Like And like when it started kind of being broke down to me like that, I was like, wow, this is like the coolest thing in the world.
That's like getting to brass tacks. That's like unveiling everything and just sitting with what God gave us while we're here.
And kind of seeing that that is true, and that the truth of that we have been given all that we need. And I feel like when you tap into the breath, you really start to experience the truth of that.
And see, and like, I'm not there yet with, certain people are like, oh, you can hallucinate with your breath. Like, you can straight up trip and go to these places. And I guess I just sort of feel like one day, maybe one day, but it just doesn't feel like where I'm at right now.
You have to earn it, like I mean, I feel like I dance with some of that stuff, and it's like you have to work and you have to earn it. Like it's not just, there is no like freebie. Like if you want to like take it to that level, like you're going to have to like do some somewhat, I don't want to say painful, but it can be painful at times, like breath, and do it for periods of times.
Yeah, see, I don't want
But you don't
pain.
have to do that. And that's the other element too. Like that's again, that's the extreme realm of it. And what's been so fascinating to me is to find out, like, okay, that's the extreme realm of it, but to also here take it to this side where it's just super gentle and soft, but it's controlled and mindful, and the effects that that can have. And I try to swim like on the half point and over of the.
Sometimes I've seen you turn blue.
I've definitely, like I said, it's definitely, I've experimented with it.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah, you're welcome, dude.
Hey,
Welcome, bro.
thanks for being here, man.
You're welcome, bro.
Well, this has been another week in King Pollys World. So grateful for you. Hey, how about you give it a thumbs up or a comment or something? Anything. Just so I know you're here. Just so I know somebody's here. Because I don't really know that. All right. Well, we'll see you next week for episode 18, where I just might have a different human than my husband. If all goes according to plan, which it never does. But I'll still show up. Thank you all for being here. We love you. Peace.